So I'll go ahead and start now. Hello and welcome everybody to Merlini's Mailbag episode 13. And this week's topic is 800 plus GPM and how to abuse safe lane farm. So 800 plus GPM is like pretty high benchmark, I think. If you're a newer player, there's almost no way you're going to get it. But it was hit recently by Saksha of DD in the TI3 Western qualifiers, and it was like part of the compendium. And again, I think it's a pretty high benchmark that if you can achieve 800 plus GPM, that means you're probably a pretty good farmer. So, first things to talk about is this week's question. So this is a question I received in my email. Again, mailbag at merlinidota.com. I've recently been playing a lot more hard carries. Something I've noticed is that even though I'm given free run of the map, meaning the safe lane and jungle, in some games due to some supports, my GPM isn't very high. I noticed that your farm in some games is sometimes ridiculously high by the 20 to 25 minute mark. Are there any tips or methods of achieving such a level of farm? It might help if you went over some replays of games in which you farm a lot. Thanks. So, there are quite a few ways to boost GPM that I'm just going to go over briefly because I think it's important. So Alchemist, Greevil's Greed, this is probably like the most common one, and if you ever look at the community, this week's top farmer, it's always an Alchemist. No surprise there, Greevil's Greed just gives you a lot of farm, and this is just a screenshot from the end game of one of the games I had in the past couple of days actually. Alchemist, 976 gold per minute. I actually sometimes have this problem where I have like way too much gold. I have 6 slotted items, I have over 10,000 gold, and I just don't know what to spend it on. First world problems. Bounty Hunter's Track. This also can significantly improve your gold per minute. Hand of Midas pretty much just like creates gold out of nowhere. And in this sniper game, I actually got Hand of Midas, I think second after Bottle and Brown Boots. And again, I have this problem where I have over 5 digits worth of gold, 6 slotted items, over 800 GPM. Support stacking camps for you, and similarly you can use Helmet Dominator stacking to dominate a neutral creep and stack camps yourself. Or you can get cleave abilities on items. Also, this is most obviously only for melee heroes. You can get this like Battle Fear on Anti-Mage, you can get a teammate Magnus to empower you, or play Magnus yourself and just empower yourself, or Tiny with Aghanim Scepter. All of these are ways to have AoE and clear camps faster, clear creep wave faster, and just get more gold. So, like, if you get like all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these, if you have support stacking camps for you and HOD stack, and have all these, like your Tiny with a Battle Fury, with a Scepter, with Empower, or your Alchemist with Battle Fury and Empower and Midas and Track, you're going to have like just absurd amounts of gold per minute. I'm pretty sure you get like above 1,200 or 1,300 if you use all 6 of these, but in a realistic situation, you're not going to have all of these, so usually I'll only focus on like 1 or 2 of these because it's just way too easy to get 800 if you have all of the above. But I wanted to highlight these just so you can get a gauge of what external factors led to an 800 plus GPM match. So other gold related topics, static farming versus pushing the lane. A lot of people I see just static farm, and that's not always the best way to make the most out of your lane. I'll go more into that later, but it's pretty much when to static farm or when to push the lane. If you're like in a more defensive position, you want to static farm because you don't want to push your creep wave out. But also, if you're in a defensive position, sometimes you can push a lane out because then the creeps will push to their tower and you can see if people gank you while you farm safely in the jungle, unbeknownst to your enemy most of the time. And limiting factors in a player versus environment. Early, this is like sort of more theory craft, but I actually think it's very important to go over. So early game, you actually don't have a lot of HP, you don't have a lot of mana, and your damage is just crappy. So like your HP is low because you get harassed a lot by ranged heroes or melee heroes. You have people that just like spam spells on you, whether it be Ion Shell or like anyone with a nuke, Disrupted with his level 1 Thunderstorm thing or whatever, and you just tank a lot. And sometimes you have like your support spoiling for you, so you have to tank the creep wave, so you just take a lot of damage that way. Also, you don't really have the mana to sort of just spam creep waves out because your mana pool is just absolutely garbage early game. Also, your base damage is the lowest it's going to be at level 1. So early game, to improve your farm, you can go these sort of items. Regen items, Shrinkle Boots, most obviously, Tangos, Magic Wand is sort of a regen item, Healing Salve, Soul Ring, Ring of Health into a Battle Fury, casual Ring of Regen into a headdress or mech. If you're like an int hero, you can use all these to sort of mitigate the HP problem. For mana, you can also go like Soul Ring, you can go Bottle Crow, whatever. But these are your like limiting factors early game, so you need to sort of get items that like target around these if you have these early game problems, which most people do. Stout Shield pretty much just like buys you HP, because if you tank neutrals or tank hero harass, whatever it may be, it'll help you a lot, and you're pretty much just like buying HP. A lot of people think of it as like damage mitigation, which it is, but I really think of it as like buying HP for later, buying survivability and sustainability. And Quelling Blade. You need Quelling Blade for damage so you can last hit more. Quelling Blade only costs 225, and if you can somehow make 113 gold from it because it sells for 112, then you should get it most of the time. And usually this is only for melee heroes, but if you can like use this like Quelling Blade creep pull thing that I do a lot, or just like get last hits on our tower that you wouldn't be able to, Quelling Blade's a pretty good investment. It's like around 3 last hits, the payoff for Quelling Blade. Late game, your limiting factors in a player versus environment is travel time, because you can't farm all 3 lanes at once. It's nearly impossible unless you are like Phantom Lancer or like Furion. And there's number of creeps. You can just, the time that it takes for you to kill creeps is almost negligible. Late game, you just like, kill creep camps in a matter of a couple of seconds. So what items and solutions and skills can you get to sort of mitigate the travel time problem and number of creeps? You can get boosted travel, so you can travel in between lanes faster and farm more. You can creep stack, whether you're using Helmet Dominator, whether just body pulling yourself, whether you get supports to do it, whatever it may be. You can creep stacks to increase the number of creeps, or you can use illusions to split push and split farm. And this is especially relevant if you have Radiance, but you can also do it with Phantom Lancer, with Mantis style, whatever it may be. So those are just other things to keep in mind. So I'll actually go over a replay to try and illustrate some of these points. So the replay in question, I have the match ID here. It is 192092250. And Decide is Dire. This actually does make a difference, and I'll again highlight this point later. Random gold, no. So I start off with 603 instead of 853, because in matchmaking a lot, I do random in AP, and you have to go different starting items if you have random gold. So my starting items were actually Arena Protection, Healing Salve, 2x Iron Branch, and 2x Set of Tango. So I didn't do a very greedy build. I didn't do like a Gloves of Haste, and I didn't get pooled. I didn't get a Stout Shield. I didn't get a Quelling Blade. I didn't get any of those items. But that's relevant for later. And my lane opponent is actually Darkseer, so it's not like I'm just free farming versus nobody in a PvE environment, as I say. I do actually have a lane opponent who does spam Ion Shell and all this other stuff, so it's not like complete free farm. And this is the end game score. Spoiler alert, I have 5,000 gold at the end. We do Roshan a couple of times. I have over 800 gold per minute, but I do not get a Midas, and I don't have support stacking for me. Both of those are pretty important. So without further ado, I will go to the replay. Let me change my overlay real fast. Okay. So this is the lineup at the start of the game. This is 30 seconds before creep spawn, not after creep spawn. So I look at their lineup. I'm on Dire side, by the way, and I am the gray player. So I am this tiny with the cool elemental Ice Infusion. Anyways, so looking at their lanes, okay, they're most likely going to do Viper mid, and these two heroes, Tidehunter and Keeper of Light, babysitting the Anti-Mage, and the Darkseer offlane. So I actually have to get a lot of regen, because Ion Shell just owns melee heroes, and if you don't know how to deal with it properly, he's gonna hamper your farm a lot. So I choose to go this like very safe build, a lot of regen, just because Stout Shield doesn't help versus Ion Shell, and Tranquil Boots, because I'm going to need the regen later, just because Ion Shell does a lot of damage, and I can't zone him out by myself. And most likely we're going to have to devote a lot of resources to keep this AM in check, so he doesn't get incredible amounts of farm. So starting build, actually pretty important. If you go some super greedy build, you're just going to be like really low HP, really targeted for ganks. You're going to have to play really defensively just because you tank too much damage from Ion Shell. So I'm going to fast forward, like let's say 8 minutes or so. 0 minute, I mean, it's not that important. Like I'm just last sitting. I'm just doing not doing anything special. But once I get to the 8 minute mark, I actually do change of player's perspective. So I actually go this like rather unusual item build, which is Soul Ring and Tranquil Boots in a safe lane versus a solo hero. Normally I might do like Bottle Crow, but this game I actually do a Soul Ring, Tranquil, and Quelling Blade builds. Quelling Blade is so I can kill the Ion Shell creep really fast. Also with Soul Ring and Tranquil too. Soul Ring, I don't want to like put myself in like really dangerous HP zone, which I consider like 60% or less. And so because of that, I have Tranquil to just try and mitigate a lot of the damage from Ion Shell, as well as when I take neutrals. So I use this Quelling Blade to chop down these trees, as you see right here, and so I can creep pull these camps. So I'll go ahead and start at 8 minutes and just as 2x speed. So like 8 minutes, I'm already double spawning and creep pulling. I'm doing 2 in 1, and I just use my Soul Ring so I can constantly spam out the wave. And there's like a lot of small things to this, but like I see a lot of people just like static farm right up here, and they're only getting 8 creeps per wave. If you check my CS right now, it's actually 64 in about 8 minutes. So there's only 4 creeps that spawn per 30 seconds, so 8 per minute. So in 8 minutes, there's actually 64 creeps that spawn. So I'm pretty close to getting every creep wave, although I don't actually last hit them. I make use of creep pooling, creep stacking, and all this other cool stuff. So net worth, AM's actually topping me right now. No surprise, he's 3-0. He got first blood, but I'm almost caught up to him in net worth. He has this like triple lane setup. He has Ring of Health. He has early tread, so he can get some kills. They have like an observer ward setup, and they require all this resources to devote to anti-mage. Whereas I don't get pulled at all. I don't have supports creep stacking for me. I don't have supports creep pulling for me. I don't have a lane ward, and I'm like having all these things against me, but I can still make do, and I can still make farm. And 9 minutes, I creep stack. I do this all by myself, and there's like no supports that come and help me, by the way. And then I try and drag these satyr camps to creep pool, and so just I can farm the wave and the neutrals at the same time. And that's really important. So as you can see, I just recently caught up in net worth after creep pooling this. And although AM doesn't die and he gets a lot of kills, I can still out farm him. But you have to do these like small tricks, whether it be triple stacking like I'm doing right now at the 10 minutes, and then notice I just like rarely have any downtime. I'm just like always soul ringing, just killing creeps, and it's a better investment in my eyes than Midas, just because Midas, sure, I can kill like one more creep every 90 seconds, but it doesn't give me any sustainability, and I don't really need attack speed right now. I can just farm up with these items. I can like creep pull this wave into this camp and just like use all my mana on it to get all the last hits, because sometimes you might not get all the last hits with Ion Shell, or Darkseer might like try and contest it with you and use Vacuum the last hit, and if you don't have any mana, that's not good at all. Like how many times have you been in a situation where you're a carry and you don't have mana to do anything? You don't have mana to kill people, like let alone farm creeps. And this is especially a problem with like someone, say like Faceless Void, who has like really expensive spells that you use once in a while. If you use Time Walk once to run away, you're not going to have mana for your combo, and like this sort of like provides me a sustainability that I need, so I can just like power farm. And as you can see, my net worth is just like running away from AM. I have like over 1,000, and he's like still getting a lot of kills. He's 4-0-1 right now. I'm just 0-0-0, and this is again first blood and 4 kills. That's like that should be a deficit that I can't really overcome. But notice he has to go regen item just because he's getting a lot of kills, and then he has like all these supports like trying to babysit him bottom. But you really have to like abuse the safe lane farm and make use of their jungle if you want to be able to compete with a free farming AM. He's going to get Battle Fury soon. He's going to get creep stacked for him and be able to blink in between creep camps. And me as Tiny, I can't really do that, and I get a free kill on Tidehunter thanks to him being really not paying attention. But like AM can like flash farm in between camps, and Tiny doesn't really have that advantage until he gets Aghanim Scepter, and then he can really just start cleaving camps. But notice I'm still pulling 13 minutes in. I like cut this tree over here just so I can move a little bit faster, and it's just a lot of things on efficiency. Being able to farm the creep wave and the jungle at the same time is not very easy at all, and it took me quite a long time to develop this set of skills. But like notice right now, I'm pulling the camp, I kill the creep wave, and then I pull it into it, and then I'll kill it before 14 minutes so I can get another spawn at 14 minutes, and then I try to double spawn here, but I forgot that I killed it earlier, and I'm well on my way to Scepter. And then my net worth is almost 2,000 ahead of AM at this point. Again, he was just free farming bottom. If you look at the minimap, no one down there, and he's still getting babysat, etc. But now that I get my Scepter, which is on chicken right now, it just becomes infinitely easier for me to farm. And I still have mana to cast my spells. Every 30 seconds I can usually just cast a combo with this. I have Magic Wand if I'm in trouble, and again, trying to kill the stack before 15 minutes so I can get another creep spawn. Notice it just spawned if you look at the mini-map, and like I just don't see many people abusing this at all, and they have like rather shitty GPM in the safe lane, which is not really good at all. I don't take the tower out, and Fog does like mention that at some point, but I have so many last hits that it's a little absurd. I have 141 last hits in 15 minutes, so 15 times 8 is 120. So I actually have more last hits than creep waves or creeps that spawn, and that's actually pretty important, right? And you won't be able to do that if you don't abuse neutrals, and a lot of times people just rely on supports to do it, but you can do it yourself. So this is like, I'm well on my way to this like whatever 800 GPM benchmark, and now I'm like 3,000 head on net worth, and that's about it for the early laning phase. And then from there on out it's just okay, I'm just going to keep killing neutrals, do some sort of rotation, but I do this like rotation a lot. I just push out the wave, kill this camp, and then double stack or pull whatever one, always depending on time. But if you want to like watch this a little bit more in depth and at a slower speed, and just look at some of the things that I did from your own point of view, then just check out the match ID that I linked in Mailbag. And then again, at the end of the game, it's like 848 gold per minute, and I'm just like 6-slotted, just crush people, no problem. But again, if you're a safe lane farmer, make sure that you don't static farm in all situations. I'm not saying that static farm is bad, it's just really situation dependent. And if you want to be close to your tower and just like farming right here for TP backup, then sure. But if you're in an uninterrupted lane, you really have to abuse it and just use these 3 camps as much as possible. If you're Radiant, it's a little bit different just because the travel time's a lot more, and it's a little bit different, but you can still do it on Radiant side too. So just a brief thing on how to get 800 gold per minute plus. It's not terribly easy, and it does take a lot of practice. And that will conclude this week's mailbag. Thanks everybody for watching, and again, submit more questions to mailbag@merlinidota.com. I didn't get that many questions this week, but I hope to see more regarding TI3 qualifiers, regarding anything in Dota. So if you like my videos, please subscribe to me at youtube.com/merlinidota, and I'll be back next week for more mailbag.